and Marine have signed up for. As president, I would not engage in any type of this military interventionism or expeditions around the world. And I would also add to that that I would not leave open any back door for something so-called as humanitarian war. The Constitution of the United States gives us the letters of marque that we can use to empower privateers, flag officers who have reached that rank, who can then use their letters of marque to engage investors and or donors to act internationally around the world on the causes that are on the conscience of America without charging the bill to the U.S. taxpayer or the butcher's bill to our soldiers and Marines. Thank you.
Well, at the heart of any military intervention needs to be a military threat. I argued that there was not a military threat from Iraq, but I thought that our military intervention in Afghanistan initially was totally warranted. We were attacked, we attacked back, and after having been in Afghanistan for 6 months, I think we wiped out Al-Qaeda, but that was 11 years ago. We should have gotten out of Afghanistan 11 years ago. I don't think that we should have gotten involved in Libya. There was no military threat. There's nothing in the Constitution that says that because we don't like a foreign leader that we should go in and topple that foreign leader. I voted for McGovern against Nixon. I don't believe there have been any military interventions that we've been engaged in that have really been justified, that have really had at its core a military threat. And Iran right now, we're looking at Iran. That's an unintended consequence of having taken out Iraq, which was Iran's only threat that they woke up every single day to that we took out.
One of the biggest problems with American foreign policy right now is we have what I like to call a nosy neighbor policy. And as you all know, there's nothing worse than somebody that moves in next door to you and is in your business all the time. In fact, the only one thing that can make it worse is if it was somebody on the other side of town, didn't even live next door to you, or was in the next town, still minding your business for you all the time. We need to stop this nosy neighbor policy of foreign interventions and set a good example about being a good neighbor for a change. We go all over the place, acting like policemen of the world. We've got ourselves spread so thin that if we were attacked, the troops would all be somewhere else, and we'd be in trouble. I heard they interviewed somebody in one of the movements in San Francisco. Her answer to that was, if somebody attacks us, call the police. We need to bring our troops home so we can be safe, stop meddling in everybody else's business.
This is a quagmire. I agree with Governor. When September 11th happened, being that I am a New Yorker, I do agree. You perpetrate an attack against this country, we will find you. You will not be able to take refuge in another country. We will find you. However, I do believe in keeping the military-industrial complex in check. Eisenhower tried to warn us, I believe it was in 1961, about the expansion of military. We're dealing with Iran now. We're about to manufacture another war with Iran because everyone believes Ahmadinejad is going to launch against Israel. Let me tell you, he is not. Dictators, with the exception of Hitler, do not commit suicide. They crave power. Ahmadinejad is a staunch supporter of Hamas. Where's Hamas? It's located in Palestine. You destroy Israel, you destroy Palestine. His other allies are in Lebanon, which is north of Israel. He destroyed parts of Lebanon. In order for him to launch, that would mean Iran and the entire Middle East is going mad, and that's not going to happen.
Time. Well, I agree with the governor on this issue as well. The U.S. has strategic interests, and that's what you have to consider. It's completely naive to foreclose on any sort of military intervention. However, we need to follow the Constitution when it comes to the war-making power and get congressional approval in every case, and stop this Policeman of the World Act.
John,
I thought that I answered that before.
you started there, didn't you?
All right, we'll move on to the next question. I think we'll start with Art Akers. Doug Craig.
My question is, trade policy and immigration policy are areas where libertarian governors at home could clash with foreign nations' economic policies that favor state control of the economy. How would you address immigration and trade policies in a libertarian administration?
Well, I would look to, especially as it applies to immigration, I would understand that what's really making people upset about our current immigration policy is this notion that the federal government is providing all these social welfares, which it shouldn't be providing, and that's driving us bankrupt. Also, that the high cost of socialism and the taxes associated with it are driving our business overseas. So, when I would look at those two things and say that it's well past time for us to have a robust immigration policy, and that is possible if we stop all that socialism, stop that from driving our business overseas, because then there'd be plenty of jobs. Also, if we stop all that federal welfare that really turns Americans against immigrants. So I'm for a very robust immigration policy, as were our founders, who understood that immigrants come here, they work hard, and they get jobs, and they bring their families, and they spend their money here, and they add to our middle class, and they provide us new markets to reach into, so that way we can compete with other emerging markets in China, in India, and other emerging countries around the world.
I think that we do need immigration reform, and it doesn't involve building a fence. Don't build a fence. I think that we should make it as easy as possible for somebody that wants to come into this country and work to get a work visa. Not a green card, not citizenship, but a work visa that would entail a background check and a social security card so that applicable taxes get paid. We enact the fair tax. Taxes aren't even an issue, because fair taxes are unavoidable, whether you're illegal, legal, visitor, citizen. You can't avoid paying the fair tax. With regard to the 11 million illegal immigrants that are here in this country right now, I think we need to set up a grace period by which we can document them. That's the way that we secure the border. The fact that we have 11 million illegal immigrants in this country right now is
One of the things that I discovered when we started with this Stop All War platform, so we began to look at the conflicts that we've had in the past and how it affected trade. And what we found was that most economic recovery that has occurred in this country has happened after we declared peace. Now look at Japan. Less than 100 years ago, Japan was our sworn mortal enemy. So bad that we put hundreds of thousands of Japanese Americans in concentration camps because we were so afraid of them. Today we wouldn't think about attacking Japan because we're so locked with the trade policy that we established. It came because of peace. Immigration policy definitely needs reform. Saw Stoss report on this just a few months ago. If you're a PhD and you live in India, you want to come to America, immigrate, it takes you about 5 to 7 years. If you're south of the border and you're a migrant worker, same process takes you 131 years. You make the law impossible to follow, people will not follow it.
Leroy Saunders.
This one's easy. My immigration policy will consist of, from the time I take office, all illegal immigrants have 1 year to report to their INS office. The reason we take 1 year is because, one, we get to do infrastructure. We need to revamp the immunization process, the naturalization process. It takes entirely too long to become an American citizen. Number two, it gives the illegal immigrants time to save money. Each immigrant will pay the process of $3,500, which is around what it costs to become a naturalized citizen. 14 million illegal immigrants paying $3,500. I just created $24 billion for our country. Now they get a federal tax ID number. Now they can work, they can pay taxes. We just reduce healthcare costs. Now we don't have to worry about Mexicans sneaking into the country when they can come through the front door with their heads held high as proud people. When you start to treat human beings like human beings, there'll be no need for civil rights, gay rights, or women's rights. Very simple. Let them come into the country, let them pay the naturalization fee, but set up the infrastructure and create jobs so we can handle it and keep track of them once they're in the country.
We can stop illegal immigration, and we should stop it. Socialism isn't what's driving business overseas. It's slave labor economies. Do you know what our trade deficit was last month? It was $48.5 billion. Tariffs are constitutional. We need to implement a tariff system sufficient to zero out that trade deficit number.
Immigration needs to have legalization of drugs so that a lot of the problems at the border, the southern border, are reduced or eliminated. But more so than that, we really need an appropriate jobs policy, as I've tried to outline. If we deregulate small business, we will have a real need for immigration. We will want people to come in and fill the jobs that we can have created by small business. But as to the existing problems, we need to be fair in terms of dealing with the people, but we shouldn't be holding out all sorts of promises to encourage illegal people to come here. I think it's allowed them, it's encouraged them to come here. We shouldn't have done that.